Before I get started on this video, I just wanted to let Cory and Hannah know how much I appreciate the opportunity to work on this project to get that square body ready for rod run. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the seat, seeing Cory and Hannah's reaction, and hopefully you're here to watch how I recovered that seat. As you can see behind me, I do more than just interiors, so feel free to browse my channel. This is a new project for me. Just real quick, it's a 1965 Ford Ranchero on an S10 frame with an LS motor. We'll jump into the video. Hopefully you'll stick around. Let me know what you think. By now you've already seen this seat in Hannah's truck, the one they're going to take to rod run. And what I want to do is just bring you along and kind of show you the process of recovering a seat like this. What I want to show you is you can see that something is holding this seat closed, and it's what is called a hog ring. And a hog ring looks like this. Now, I don't know for sure, but I do believe that hogs actually do have rings put in their nose, like where their septum is, and that keeps them from rooting. I have a feeling this isn't the exact same thing they use, but same concept. We've got two different types of hog ring pliers. We've got some that have an angle, you can see there, and then we got some straight ones. I personally like the angled ones. See here, just so I can get a different bite on whatever I'm trying to get. These straight ones are, you know, kind of in the way here. Here I can kind of be out of the way. Anyway, I'll have a link in the description below for these. To remove these, a nice pair of side cuts comes in real handy. These are a little rusty, so they're kind of difficult to get out, but nonetheless, we'll get them out. So I'm going to repeat this step down the length of this seat, then we'll come back. I have all the hog rings cut out of the bottom, and now we're just going to unroll this. So we'll peel it back. I missed the hog ring over here. One thing I was going to show you earlier though is with these hog ring pliers, you can see the shape of this. It's very similar to a staple. See that? So with these hog ring pliers, when you smash it, that's what it looks like. Okay, we're going to do this on the other end. Take a look at everything. Everything looks to be in decent shape. Up here, obviously we've got some issues with the foam. I did buy a set of foam for this, but I believe it's for the wrong year, so I don't think I'll be able to use it, and we'll probably just end up doing a repair in this area here, and when we get there I'll show you that part. So I think I'm going to have to remove the seat back from the bottom. So I'm going to grab a drill and remove these plastic covers here. It's just going to be a Phillips. We've got a Phillips here and then 2 more right here. So I'll get these removed. All right, like I said, there was some more screws underneath. So I've already got that side. The screws removed from there. Now, these are really nice to make things fast, but sometimes when these are stuck, and they've been in there since 1987, they can not want to come out. So if you try an impact or a drill or something to remove these screws and they don't want to come out, don't continue, or you'll end up stripping your screws. This is where a handy good screwdriver comes in. Sometimes these are the best way to go. So I'm just really trying to get this broke loose. The other side, they wanted to kind of turn, and you could see right there I just about stripped it a little bit. So once I get it going a little bit, I might grab the impact again and see if it wants to participate. There we go. Never know what you're going to find in places like this. So at this point, we're going to, I was going to take this off and then get to this, but we're already here. We've already got it flipped over. So I'm going to remove these 3 bolts here, 3 bolts over here. Now, one thing I want to show you, and something to be aware of if you're doing the same style seat, is we've got a cable that goes over to the other side to release the mechanism to allow the seat to slide. And as you can see, it's held in place with a hog ring right here. So I'll cut this hog ring, I'll get those 6 bolts out, and then we'll remove these and start taking these hog rings out around the edge. If at all possible, it's good to try to get these so they don't end up on the floor and in a tire or the bottom of your wife's foot when she's out in your garage barefoot. And if you have a square body, chances are these bolts are going to be a 1/2 inch. All right, just like we did on the seat back, we're just going to come through and cut these hog rings. All right, so we can see how boring this gets. I'm going to go ahead and we'll come back once I have all these hog rings out. And I'll probably go ahead and take these they're probably T35, T40. To hold the arm of the back to the base. I figured you guys would want to hear this. Basically what I'm going to do is remove this, and these are T50s like I said earlier. So T50, T50. Once these are off, the seat back will be loose. We can remove it. And then we just have the base, and then there's really not much to taking this cover off either, other than this back edge, and I'll show you a tool that I use to remove these. You can do it easily without the tool that I got, but the tool I have makes it easier, so I'll just show that to you here in a second. Here you want to make sure you get this washer. I like to try to put everything back where it was. So here's the secret weapon. It is a Cottor pin extractor. I use this on a bunch of different things. So this shape right here is basically a J, and it comes up and over this lip. So all we're using this for is to get in there and lift it up and over just like that. And then from here you can do it by hand. And you can also use it as an assistant. So at this point, we are good to flip this over and remove this cover. Something that fell off, this was between the arm and this vinyl right here. So we're going to save these. They fell off on both sides. So it appeared that the easiest way to get this off is going to be on the back, because the front kind of wraps around this frame right here. Let's see here, we're just rolling back. That was a hog ring, nothing important. So I'm going to go do the other side, roll it back just like this. And now it's just going to come off. At this point, one other thing I need to show you is this seat has these plastic grommets, if you will. Trying to decide if I'm going to make this out of material or if I'm going to try and color match this and spray it and dye it. But we do want to remove these and set them to the side just in case. Hopefully you can see right here it's kind of a locking mechanism. So what we're going to try and do is either use that hook tool that I have and see if we can get this to pop over these locking features. If that doesn't work, I think a flathead screwdriver is going to be fine. Yeah. So we're good there, but okay. All right. So it didn't always work out that easy. And it appears that we have the locking feature on this end, on both corners, but not this side. So maybe that's the trick, is you can get under here. Do the same on this side. There we go. The last time I did one of these seats, it was not that easy, and maybe I didn't pay close enough attention. I was actually quite younger, so I'll attribute it to young age. All right, so we're going to remove this. We'll assess the damage on the cushion. We'll open the other cushion that I bought too and check it out, see if it's going to work. We've got the bottom seat cover on our cutting table here. I'll show you how I mark these out, just so when I cut them out, I can transfer the pattern. You can see here on this back strip, I've got this labeled A, so this will be our panel A, and then it's going to match up to this side of the panel. Sometimes you can have similar shaped panels, and if you don't mark them, then you might end up confused as to what goes where. So the other thing you'll notice is I've got some marks here where I'm going to transfer these marks to the new material. And what that's going to do is allow us to line up on these as we're sewing and make sure that we don't stretch in one direction or the other. So here you can see I've labeled this B, B here. I didn't label the front because that we know this is going to be the center of the front, but I did label these D and D, so we know these two come together. Now, one thing to note on this one, this is the side that's damaged, and we're probably not going to be able to get a good pattern off of it. Luckily, this seat is symmetrical, so we can use our center line from the front and the back and just flip it over and transfer the shape. So I'm going to change this up a little bit from the factory. I'm going to put a center panel in here, and as long as we mark the center of that, that's where these marks are going to be. So that shouldn't be a difficult thing to obtain there. So the next step now is to cut out, to cut all the stitching and separate these pieces. Again, you can see we've got some marks just so that we know that we can get it lined back up. I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to turn on the time-lapse machine so that you don't have to be bored and you can still see what I'm doing. All right, we need to talk through the design on the seat back. Here we're going to find the middle. Now this is just a rough idea so we can try to visualize what we're going to have in the end. All right, so this is going to be a flat panel. What I'm trying to do, we're going to replace this piping with a top stitch, and you'll see what that is here in just a second. I'm trying to think if I want to do something here on the front, like if I want to make a panel on this top section straight across. So then we'd have a section here with some design in it, whether it's just plain straight pleats like what was in here to begin with, or a cross pattern, which I might end up going that way, I don't know. Just gonna try and figure out what I want to do. Now, part of the reason I'm going through all this is the more large panels we have like this, the more material we're going to use up on the roll of vinyl. And if we don't do it efficiently, we could end up running out of material. I don't want to do that, and that's also why I went from tearing apart the bottom to tearing this apart, or getting this straightened out how I want it, so that I make sure that we get all the big pieces cut at one time in the beginning, so all the smaller pieces I can use in these areas here. So I'm going to think through this a little bit. I'll probably mark this up, come back and show you what we got. All right, here's where we're at. I'm going to have a side band. I'm going to have a center section here that will have some sort of a design. Haven't decided yet. So up here, it's going to be straight. Here's going to be straight. Design, straight or flat panel here that will stop here. So once I sew all these together, I'll sew it to here, to this top piece. I'll have a top stitch here, all the way across. Top stitch will be out here. Top stitch in here, here, and then on the other side. So I'm happy with this. Now on the back side, this is a preliminary mark that's kind of right on the corner here. Not 100% sure if I'm going to go this route or if I'm going to make the whole panel. And I think I will still be able to do the top stitch all the way around, but I'm going to look more into that as I get closer. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and dissect this. I don't have to cut this out. All I have to do is get, I know I want 8 inches here, so I'm going to go 9, because we're going to use up a 1/2 inch on either side as we sew it. Then I'm going to measure here add an inch to that. And these outer panels I'm going to leave a little long so that when I've got all this done, I can lay this over the top and just make sure everything, that there's plenty of material. So I'm going to move on to that. So I'm going to take this cover back off and start cutting. And once I get there, we will be able to actually get the material out that we're going to be using. Here you can see I have brought this panel back, matched it to this. We're going to make sure these match up. I did not consider this side panel just being a regular straight flat panel, but as I talked through it on that seat back with you guys, this is what I ended up, I want to make it look consistent with the back. So this is just an idea of what we're going to have. I've already cut a big piece off of this roll to do that, the back in one piece if we need to. So for now, I'm going to start with cutting this stuff out of the material. On all of this that is going to go on top of the seat, we're going to put a foam backing on it. So you'll see that here in just a minute. When it comes to doing these patterns, when we sew this, it'll actually shrink up. So we need to allow for that to make sure we have enough material. So I'm going to go ahead and get these measured, cut out some sections, and start doing some sewing. I have these panels cut, and these are for the seat back. These are going to be the two that have the diamond shape in them. This is the one that's going to be in the middle. What I'm going to go ahead and do is attach the vinyl to this, what we call pleating foam, and we're just going to attach it with some glue. I'm going to just show you this first part. It's pretty straightforward and simple. I'm trying not to make a mess, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start on this end, and then I'll move this cardboard over so that I don't get this on the table. Once these are attached to the foam, I'll just cut out the perimeter, flip these over, I'll mark center, and then we'll figure out our diamond pattern for sure once that's done. So the way I find is easiest to do these is to do half at a time. And when you're doing a permanent bond, it's best to do both sides of the material. So we'll do the pink and then we'll do the white. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's really to hold it while we're doing the sewing. We'll let this sit for just a second, let it kind of tack up, then we'll put the material down on the foam. And then here we're going to do the second portion. Okay, now comes the part where I'm going to cut them out just with scissors. Just tracing the edge here. The one bad thing about this is the adhesive will get on the scissors, and acetone cleans that glue up real good. So I'm just going to cut the rest of these out. I'll start marking for the diamond pattern, and we're going to need to transfer or use the same measurements on the seat back or the seat bottom so that we have the exact same pattern and consistency. Be back in a minute. I've already laid out one pattern. I just wanted to show you how I came to this pattern. I don't want to do math. I don't want to measure angles. So I took my largest piece, which I believe is 22.5 inches tall, 24 inches wide, and I found the center point. And what I'm doing is going off the top, and from the top center out to the bottom corners, and then I'm making one line. You can see I'm going from the corners to the center, corner to the center, and then this straight edge is 2 inches wide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go this direction and make my marks, and then I'll use this to go the other way. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out now. Here in just a second we're going to run out of length on the straight edge, but that's okay. I'll come back and extend it to where it needs to be. So you can see how that went. Here we're going to end up short again, not a big deal. I'll finish it out with the other straight edge. All right, I mentioned these were the larger of the panels, and the reason that makes a difference is we need to set the other ones on, and then we will mark all the spots where they cross over. Might even be easier just to do it this way. I think that should give me the same pattern. Of course, I didn't take that all the way out, so let that be a lesson to me. All right, so I'm just gonna keep going. I'll get these transferred, we'll start sewing, and hopefully it looks pretty cool. Before we go too crazy, we're gonna do a test run. So I've just taken our material, I've got our thread in the machine. Gonna turn the machine on. Just gonna do a stitch to get these together, and then I'll do what is called a French seam. That's basically where we do a top stitch on both sides. So we'll go ahead and do that. There we go. So this is a French seam. So everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and start sewing up and putting that diamond pattern in these panels now that everything's ready to go. So I'm going to clean up and start on that. Well, you can see here, I've got the diamonds stitched in, I've got those center panels in, and now I'm just fitting everything to see how it's all going to go. Just wanted to bring you back in so I didn't get too far along, and you can see the teal stitching. So I'm going to keep moving. I've got to make the panels that go here on the sides for the back and the bottom here. And then on the back, if you remember the design, we went with basically a cap. I realized while I was filming, I thought I was filming, I've already gotten this far as putting this cover on. So let's continue. So what I'm doing here is pulling down and kind of smacking it, and it's allowing these wrinkles to come out. All right, so now I can start to hog ring this closed, and then we'll have a cover. So I might end up steaming this cushion to see if it'll come back out after I answer my phone. From the first time I saw this seat, I thought, from the image that you saw at the beginning, we've got to do something about this section here to make it right. There's a couple issues here. You can see that's torn all the way through. And at an old shop I worked at, what we would do in a situation like this is we might spray foam, or we might use some spray adhesive and put some Dacron in these valleys, and then cover the whole top with the pleating foam that is used on the back side of the seat, the fabric that I'm using. Another option is you take a piece of foam like this, and then you would cut this out through here and take some sort of a knife, whether it's an electric knife for carving turkeys, to get the shape back. I didn't want to do this on this project. For one, I want to make sure it's right. So I found a replacement foam for the bottom. Now for 73 through 81, I believe, you can buy a full set, which is the bottom and the back. but from 82 or 83 to 87, you can only buy the bottom. And the reason is the seat back on these is molded, and you can't replace it because the foam was produced or manufactured around the frame. So if you've got a square body that's 80, let's call it 82 and newer, and you need a new seat back foam, you might as well start looking for a whole seat so you can take that back. So what I opted to do and what Cory agreed to is actually replacing this foam for the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. It's in that box right there. Here we can see it's got a nice shape. I think it's going to be a more durable foam than the factory. All right, so let's get this switched out. Well, I think we will go ahead and put the cover on, see how it fits, and go from there. So one thing that I do need to do also on this is cut out for the seat belt holes that are in this vicinity here. So I already have them marked from the old seat cover. We'll see if those match up. So getting that first side to roll over is not a big deal. Getting the second one to roll over is where we will hopefully have some tightness and be able to stretch this a little bit. So this cover looks like it's going to fit just fine. I guess I'm going to go ahead and get everything seated, flip it over, and then we'll mark for those seat belt recesses. Before I go much further with putting this seat cover on the bottom, we have to address these plastic pieces. You can see the two there in the back. Those are going to be for the seat belts to come through the seat. And then we have these side covers that are going to cover where the screws are, or the bolts are, that hold the seat back to the seat bottom frame. So what we're going to do is change the color of these using a vinyl dye, which is supposed to be better than a spray paint. We have this SEM brand. This is the Adhesion Promoter, and then this is going to be the Color Coat. And if you are at all interested in what color this material is, where to get it, just ask me in the comments and I can provide that for you. But we're going to use this to color match from the black to the brown. And first step is going to be Adhesion Promoter. You'll spray that on. It says to do one light coat, then a heavy coat. Let that set for about 15 minutes, but less than 30, and then you can move on to the color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll bring you back when I start doing the actual color, just so you can see the color change from black to brown. Not sure why I didn't think about this before, but I'm not reusing this foam, and it didn't even really matter if I did. I'm going to go ahead and use this to spray the color on. And I'm only concerned about the areas that are going to be seen. Anything on the inside is going to be hidden and not seen. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying down this color. This is Bluebird Brown, and I believe that color comes from Bluebird buses. So if you rode a public school bus, you may find this color to be familiar. In the light, this actually looks like a navy blue. So I'm not sure if it is a navy blue or if it was actually a black. But we're going to change it from whatever color this is to hopefully something that matches that. All right, so if you see the color change the same way I do, I think the lights are bothering us. So once I get these in place, we'll see how close it matches. It's going to be closer than the black or the blue, whatever it was. So I'm going to move these off. I'm going to pull the seat bottom back up. We'll get that seat cover cut for these right here, and then we'll come back. Here we go. Let's bring you in real quick so I can show you a couple things. One, these pockets where the seat belts come through, I went ahead and sprayed those with the same color because when these were down, you could see the white foam just didn't look good, and I wanted to look a little bit better. Another thing I wanted to show you is when I put that seat back in place, I marked where this center section was. So as I'm putting this down, I'm going to make sure these line up so that when the bottom and the back are together, they'll match up. So I'll set you back on the tripod. We'll get this seat bottom cover on, and we can start putting this together so we can send it to Cory and Hannah and see how they like it. We'll work on this here in just a minute. Make sure everything's looking good here. Right here, I'm just putting that J channel back on this back section here. I could use that handy dandy tool I showed you in the beginning of this video, but I've opted not to do that. There we go. Making some progress. Alright, got just a little bit here to go. Gonna grab something to finish it off, or alright, there we go. Alright, so if you remember, we did something a little different with the seat back. Instead of using what was originally there, we used the material and we folded it over and we put the hog rings in. So that's what we're going to do now. So here we have the hog rings, and since we don't have the what is called a listing, we don't have that. We are just folding the material over, kind of bring it tight, and when we do that, we want to make sure we're consistent with the amount of tightness, and we can watch along this edge. So you can see what I did, bringing this in. What I want to do is try to get this line to be consistent all the way across. So as we go along, I'll pull this tight, I'll put some hog rings in, and hopefully it all turns out the same. I'll continue this along here, and then I'll go that direction. We'll come back. You can see we've got all the hog rings in around the perimeter here. It's time to turn this over and see what we have. I kind of hesitate. I don't want to move this around too much on this table because we don't have the seat tracks in place. So we'll take a quick look, but then I need to get the seat tracks put back in place, and then we can start assembling the seat. And here you can see everything is in place. Probably a good thing we went ahead and changed the color of these and also painted down in the hole, or dyed. So at this point, I'm happy with moving forward, and we will get the seat tracks on and then start assembling the rest of the seat. Here we have the seat that is complete. Getting ready to go to Cory and Hannah Wheat. Sorry, I'm not a poet, but I did know it. Yeah, so anyway, this is a seat that Cory Wheat brought to me for the square body that they're going to take the rod run. Just wanted to show you the final product before I give it to them. So I'll bring you in kind of close so you can kind of check things out. And I'll point out some things that maybe you won't see in their video, just some detail. So as you can see, we've got the teal stitching with the distressed brown vinyl, and we did color match the seat belt holes as well as the covers on the side here. Those are color matched as close as I can get them. So in the end, I just wanted to kind of bring this in so you could see some of the detail. We did a top stitch here from the diamond stitch to the flat panels on the sides, and then here in the center we have what is called a French seam. So all in all, I think this looks better than the way Cory gave it to me. So hopefully we can get their reaction, Cory and Hannah, or just Cory. Sounds like Hannah's not going to be available. So tomorrow's the day I'm going to give it to Cory, and we'll see what happens.
Woo! Oh, that looks really good. Got the teal stitching. And I told you to do whatever you wanted, and you killed it. That looks really good. Put a new pad in it, you say?
Yeah, the bottom cushion's brand new. And then I color matched the plastics where
yeah, you did.
where the seatbelts come through
Seatbelts?
and the cover on the side.
Man, that looks really good. Good job. So you're in Bloomington?
Yep.
Anything these people need to know about you?
Yeah, my name's David, and if you want to watch me recover this seat, you can check out. I'm gonna send Cory a link to the video.
Put it in the description.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, that's it. Just check out the video, and
that looks killer. So if you guys are in the Bloomington, Indiana area, this is the go-to guy. Like I was saying, this is the first time I've seen his work in person, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Hannah and I both just said, hey, do whatever you want. You know, we're pretty easy going, just surprise us, and he killed it on that seat. That thing looks really good. Looks perfect.